Hello and welcome to my best settings guide for Black Myth Wukong. Let's get right into it, starting off with our graphics settings, as that's what I think most people care about. So we'll hop right into our super resolution. Basically, this decides what resolution you're going to be going for when you're using DLSS or FSR. So the higher this is, the better your game will look, but it does reduce performance. So I think a good middle ground is 80. That seems to be what a lot of people agree upon. And then depending on your graphics card, you can have DLSS or FSR or whatever. Personally, I have it turned off right now. However, if I do run into some more FPS issues, I will turn it on at that 80% resolution. Full ray tracing. If you have a really beefy computer, you can definitely run that. However, most people will not be able to run that very well, I don't think. So moving on to our detailed graphics settings. For view distance quality, I would leave that on very high. It doesn't affect your game performance too much, and it will look very nice, especially for those long mountain views. Moving on to anti-aliasing quality, I would leave that on high as well. Again, it doesn't affect your performance too much, and it makes the game look good. Post effects quality, medium is more than enough, and it doesn't really affect the visual quality too much. Shadow quality is very important in games like these. You do want it to be high if you can. Medium, if not low, would be not great. So definitely, I personally am leaving it on high, but if you're having issues, you can turn this down to medium. Moving on to texture quality, in this game, honestly, it doesn't seem to affect your performance very much. So I'm having it on cinematic, which is the highest, and it's running just fine. So if you can, I would run the texture quality as high as possible, because otherwise it can make the game look pretty rough if your textures aren't all at the highest setting. However, if you're having issues, feel free to turn it down to whatever you want. Moving down to visual effect quality, I think medium is more than enough for this, and it doesn't seem to make a big difference when you turn it up any higher. So I think medium is good for that. Hair quality, again, medium seems to be just fine, especially for the hairier boss fights. Moving on to vegetation quality, very high, should be just fine, or maybe even high. It looks just fine. I'm going to run very high just because I can, but you can turn that down if you need a little bit more FPS. Global illumination looks good on high as well. And then reflection quality, you can turn this down if you're having issues, but it doesn't seem to affect the performance too much, so I'm leaving that on very high. So those are my graphics settings. We'll just scroll through them one more time, and now we can go back and go through the rest of the settings. So on the controller, I honestly haven't changed any of the settings. I think that they have pretty good, it's set up quite well, and I am using a controller, not a mouse and keyboard. But yeah, I think it's fine. There's nothing that I would change here as of now. I may do an update on this video in the future where I do, but for right now, it's just fine. Keyboard and mouse I won't touch on because I'm not using it. Gameplay tutorial messages, I have those on for sure. Auto switch lock on, this is just when your current target dies, you automatically switch to a new target. Personally, I do like this. If you really want to, you can turn this off and then you can choose which target you select, but I like that on for now. And then you can also have auto lock-in when attacking. So if you forget to lock on to enemies a lot, this can be helpful just so that you don't have to do it yourself. And then auto target when attacking, it enables automatic targeting without centering the camera on the target. Again, this can be quite helpful if you're not a hardcore gamer or whatever. Camera assist can automatically help you move the camera in the direction of your movement. This can be annoying actually if you're trying to run away but you want to keep the camera on a boss. Unless you're locked on, I wouldn't necessarily suggest the camera assist. It can be annoying. So it sort of depends on how you play and whether you like it or not. Show headgear, it's just whether you want to see your head or not. Then we have the character status HUD, description information. I wouldn't change any of this. Let's see, you could put on damage numbers if you want. Enemy health bars I definitely would have on. And damage numbers just depends if you want that extra information. Boss health bars, lock on reticle, interaction prompts, low health alert. All of those are fine on. I think getting more information is always worth it. And then personally, I turned allow data collection off. I don't want them to be gathering all the data. It actually is quite a bit if you read through the privacy policy. And so personally, I would definitely turn that off pretty much when playing any game. If you can keep them from gathering your data, it's 100% worth it to not give them that data for free. So moving on from there to our camera settings. I wouldn't change much in here. We can just go through them real quick, but personally I haven't changed any of them. You can change your camera sensitivity to go higher if you're having issues scrolling around with your controller. That's definitely more of an issue with a controller than a mouse and keyboard, so you could definitely increase the sensitivity if you need to twist around faster. Moving on to language, nothing to see there. English is just fine. Display, personally I sent my display mode to borderless instead of windowed, but other than that I haven't really changed anything. I think I turned VSync off, and then I also made sure to turn motion blur off. I don't know why motion blur is on strong in games like these. I mean, they say it makes it more cinematic, but personally I hate motion blur. Camera shake I'm also not a fan of. I have been, just testing it with it on, but personally I think most games like this I'll have it turned off for sure. So we already touched on graphics, sound, nothing to change here. Accessibility, again, nothing that I would change here other than the motion blur, which it's obviously in 2 different settings. And I wanted to take a quick minute to go through the controls on the controller. So on L2 we have staff spin, on L1 we have use gourd, then on the directional pad we have thrust stance, smash stance, pillar stance. Then moving down, the left stick is used for moving, which is very standard, and then the right stick is used for lock on, remove lock on, and then also where you're looking, and basically you click it down to lock on 2 different monsters. Then light attack is on the left button, jump is on the bottom button, dodge is on the right button. Heavy attack is the top button, which is different from a lot of games where in a lot of games the attack button is just 1 button, and basically you usually hold it down to have the heavy attack, and you can also charge it up and have, like sort of a medium attack where it's not the full heavy attack and it's not a light attack, it's something in the middle. So I do think it's interesting that this game has just a completely different button for the heavy attack versus the light attack. Then we have the menu button. We can hit photo mode if we hit R2 with the middle button, and then we have R2 plus the directional pad gives you your use spells. Then R1, which is the top with the movement, allows you to sprint, so definitely very useful. And then R2 with the directional thing has the use on hands. Sorry, R2 with the buttons is use spell, and R2 with the directional thing is use on hands. So those are the different controls. I do wish that they allowed you to change the settings. I haven't found a way to change like what is set to, which is sort of annoying. So hopefully eventually they allow you to do that, but until then, you can also change the input type and the controller type if you want, though I would just change the controller type to whatever controller you have. But I think that personally type A is what I'm going to go with. It makes a lot more sense. And then you can also swap the dodge and jump if you don't like how they are. So because jump is on the bottom and dodge is on the right, which honestly makes the most sense to me. I think that's how most games that I've played are. But if you want to swap it, you can. And the vibration intensity, that's how much your controller is going to vibrate. And personally 10 is fine for me, but if it's annoying to you, then you can definitely turn that down, and it should make it easier in fights, honestly. There you have it. Those are all the settings. We'll go through the graphic settings one last time in case you just need to look through them again, but at this point I'd assume everyone paused and got them. And yeah, so anyways, let me know if you found this video helpful and what you've been thinking so far of Black Myth Wukong. It's definitely doing really well as a game, which is good to see. It's great to see new games that don't have a long IP behind them being ridiculously popular. I mean, it's over 1 million concurrent players on Steam every single day, which is absolutely nuts. And yeah, so anyways, I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll have a bunch of videos coming out on this game in the coming weeks, as well as I'll probably be covering a couple other games as well. So anyways, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.